All right, everybody. So I'm here with my main man, Russell Robinson. Man, this guy, look, if you haven't had a chance to think about employee voice, employee silence, what that means for your organization, like this is the guy. The guru is sitting right here in the room with me. So Russell, man, can you just tell everybody a little bit about like who you are, a little bit about your background, and like why you're interested in this idea of voice and silence? Man?
All right. So my day job is I work for it's good to be here with you.
Yeah,
work with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, a group called Program Support Center, and I'm the senior training and engagement advisor. So what that basically means is we deliver training to our employees, but we also work on engagement, which we call their workforce experience, so that they have a good workforce experience and a good pipeline through their tenure with us, and long story short, that they're engaged. I think voice came to me from the aspect of I was in a meeting one day, it's all staff meeting, and I don't know whether the meeting was going well or not. I think the person leading the meeting thought it was, and they asked for questions, and it was crickets in the room, like the Michigan J. Frog cartoon back in the day.
So people could have responded, but they just chose not to.
They couldn't, and I was new to the organization, so I figured, well, nobody had anything to say. But then after the meeting, you could just see people gathered in different pockets, and they were talking, and they were sharing ideas that they chose to not share. And I had asked one, like, well, why didn't you bring it up at that point? And they had mentioned that there was a fear of some form of retribution, or if that idea wasn't accepted, or they had suggested ideas in the past and it was never acted on. So there was a sense that it was futile. And at that point, I was working on my doctorate at George Washington University, and I was playing around with employee engagement, and started to explore voice a little bit, and that kind of drove my desire to research voice, also research silence and how they relate to engagement.
Wow. So what's incredible about that is people were in the meeting, they did not speak up, but they had things to say, so they talked about it outside the meeting.
Right.
So they had something to say. It wasn't something they were using silence as a from a place of power.
In a sense. So there's a lot of talking about voice. So last week I was at a conference, the Waggle Harvest, and they use employee engagement as it relates to employee voice. And a lot of the research talks about employee voice, and within the federal government, our enterprise, our government-wide survey talks about voice through communication, but they never really talk about silence. And there's power in silence, and a lot of times people think of people who are silent in the workplace as being meek or timid or weak, but actually having an idea or from some of the follower research and choosing to share or not share that is where the power is.
For sure.
I mean, you had mentioned in some of your research that employee engagement is a really fragile relationship.
Totally.
And the way I see it is up to rating someone successful as a leader, you have a lot of power over the employee. You, in regards to what they do to be just satisfactory or meet the status quo. But if you want more, if you want that discretionary energy from them, they control that. And as a leader, you really have to find ways to tap into that so you can get it from them.
Man, that's incredible. All right, look, if there were 3 things that you think people need to know about voice, what would those 3 things be?
So I think the first is what everybody knows. Okay. That what I said earlier, people speak or don't speak based on whether the idea would be acted on, whether it's futile or not. The second aspect would be there would be fear of retribution or some adverse action. But what my research says is outside of that, sometimes if the employee is feeling valued and they feel like they have impact and they know that idea is going to have impact to the mission, that can supersede a situation where you don't trust your leader, and people will find a way to get that idea up.
Incredible.
I think linking the voice research to the engagement research from Kahn's psychological availability, when people feel insecure in their job, and I don't mean insecure from this aspect of they think their job status may be tenuous, but they're new in a job, they're at the beginning of the learning curve, that impacts whether they communicate their ideas or not. Interestingly, when bosses are new and newly promoted or in a role, and they may seek to not take ideas up, that will impact whether their employees take ideas up to them.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'd probably say is, and this is really good for the leaders from a downward communication standpoint. Sometimes people have ideas, but they won't articulate them until it's crafted in a way for success. And a lot of that involves, have they done their due diligence? Have they talked to other stakeholders? Sometimes have they kind of sketched out their idea with their boss? So they want to be in a position where they articulate an idea that will be successful.
Yeah.
So I think those are your three things.
Man, those are awesome. Look, if people want to know more information, where can they find you on the socials?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Russell Robinson. I'm on, where else am I? I'm on Instagram.
Instagram.
No, I don't want to I'll keep my Instagram to myself.
Listen, so
I'm on the Twitter. I'm on the Twitter and I tweet Dr. Russ Logic.
Okay.
And I think that's about it.
All right. So you can connect with him on LinkedIn. You can connect with him on Twitter, but you cannot connect with him on Instagram.
No.
It's private.
No,
it's private.
No.
It's private.
Instagram doesn't exist.
Look,
just forget I said that. But
Dr. Russ Logic right here. Like this is the guy.
I'm with Brad Shuck, man. Winning. I'm winning right now.
This is the guy. Listen, check it. Thanks for tuning in.